Hi, I'm Scott Wrighton. I serve as Decatur's City Manager, and it truly is our staff's pleasure to bring short little videos to you every single week about another topic or several topics that are happening with your city government here with the City of Decatur. Today I'd like to talk about two topics, both of which come out of the Mayor and City Council's last meeting, their only meeting as it turns out, in January. The first has to do with an ongoing, what I call an unfunded mandate. Now that's government speak for a demand or a requirement put on local governments either by the state government or by the federal government, whereby they essentially say, we're going to force you to do whatever it is, X, Y, Z, under penalty of law, and we're not going to give you any money for it. You got to figure out how to come up with the money for it. Both the state and federal government, and here especially the state government, impose unfunded mandates on local governments all the time. One of the chief ones that we're dealing with has to do with lead service lines. Now, lead service lines, or components of the water line that connects your house or business to the water main out in the street, having lead in them is a thing of the past. Waterline connections haven't been using lead components really for the last 70 or more years. They, at least here in Decatur, they stopped doing using lead components in the 1940s. So because of that, we know where most of the homes likely to have lead service lines are located. They're in neighborhoods that were built during or before the 1940s. Now that still constitutes a significant portion of the housing stock and of the building stock in the city of Decatur. So last year, the City Council initiated a new program where if you are replacing your water line anyway between the main and the house, that we would share that cost with you as a way of encouraging more of these replacements of the lines that had lead in them. In addition to that, the City Council at its last meeting approved a project with a local contractor to basically punch holes, they call it daylighting, but to punch holes in the ground, dig up key portions of the meter area or some other service connection of the portion of the line to determine if there is lead in it or not. Just because it was built before the 1940s doesn't mean it automatically has lead in it, and sadly, the quantity and the quality of the database the city has is kind of marginal in some cases. And so we need to do more investigating. We've been using really rough numbers that there's about 6,000 structures in the city of Decatur that have to be replaced, but when we did a complete replacement of these water line connections down in the Johns Hill addition a couple of years ago, we discovered that our numbers were way off. Thankfully, it turned out to be a lot fewer than we thought, in part because there were other materials used, and in many cases, some of the homes had been demolished anyway, and so that the number was actually less. For us to go after grants and for us to plan accordingly for the replacement of this over the next 20-some years, because it'll take that long to finish all of this in accordance with the mandate, we need better records. And so you'll see a contractor out in certain areas, usually in those older neighborhoods, that'll be making these holes in order to get more information about the service lines. So this is sort of the first step to gather more information. This is a many years long process of upgrading these lines, and it doesn't even deal with the lead that's inside a private property owner's house. Even if it's all clean with the city's main and that private lateral into the house, it still doesn't eliminate the possibility there could be lead in the house, but of course that remains the property owner's responsibility. So stay tuned and we'll give you some more information about that. Another action taken by the City Council at their last meeting was the adoption of their biennial strategic plan. Every 2 years, the City Council has an off-site retreat where they sort of step back and try to look at the long-range strategic direction of the city, sort of from a 10,000-foot altitude standpoint, and decide how they should change their strategies, what sort of additional initiatives they should take. And they did that last year, and so that document was finalized last night. It's called the 2023-2025 Strategic Plan. It bears a lot of similarity to the one that the City Council adopted for the 21 to 23 period of time. That's because many of the same issues are in place. Many of the same issues are still being pursued by the Mayor and Council. They just need to be updated to reflect what's already been accomplished and some new things that have come along. The strategic goals really fall under 6 different categories. The first is neighborhood revitalization. I talk a lot about neighborhood revitalization. A lot of the actions of the mayor and city council deal with neighborhood revitalization. That continues to be a key goal. Number two has to do with workforce development. I've had the opportunity to talk about that here in these videos as well, how one of the biggest impediments to moving forward in economic development and getting new jobs, in helping our new employers as well as our existing ones grow and meet some of their strategic objectives, their biggest impediment is getting the workforce they need to move forward with their plans. And so that's not just a matter of getting the bodies, although that's a part of it. It's also making sure that they have the training, that they have the counseling, that they have the wraparound services, and that we're even reaching into the high schools to help people understand that the advanced manufacturing jobs that are now available in Decatur aren't, if I can call it, your grandfather's factory jobs. They've changed so significantly and can be a really meaningful career. The third area has to do with downtown. While we have a good downtown, the council's desire is to make it even greater and to use some of those same strategies where it's appropriate to some of the other commercial districts around the city. The fourth strategic goal of the council is to use more technology strategically where it can improve the efficiency of our operations and help us reach our goals more rapidly. The fifth has to do with taking a hard look at our revenue structure. People don't like property taxes. They don't like some of the other legacy taxes that the city depends on, but we have to have revenue to run the city government. So there's a desire to really rethink the structure of government, see if we can come up with revenue sources that are fairer, perhaps more equitable as well, and that's a goal. Sixth and finally has to do with key parts of our infrastructure, chief among those being the lake. Now, you've also heard me talk about the lake. The mayor and city councils rightly see Lake Decatur as a key asset, an asset for the water resources that it provides, not only to our citizens, but also to industry. And water can be, and has been, and will continue to be, a key incentive, a key asset that we use to bring more jobs to Decatur, bring more investment to Decatur as we have in the past. But we have to be good stewards of it, not just for the production of water, but also for the management of the watershed as a whole, so that we're making sure that we minimize the amount of silt and erosion and nitrates going into the water so that it's a top quality drinking water supply, as well as a top quality recreation site, which the City Council has been advancing as well with some of the improvements in Basin 2. So for more details on that, as I mentioned, you can look to our website, and later this week, the adopted strategic plan will be there for your review. I look forward to bringing you more information about these topics as well as others in the next video.